So just putting out what I've found so far. Alright. So, basically, this would be the spirituality chakra. That's the cerebrum, okay? Your forebrain, which would be your reptilian brain, your limbic system, that would be your awareness. Your third eye, because you're aware, your instinct, So if your third eye is open, your instincts are wide open. Alright, so that's your awareness, your limbic system, your reptilian brain. Communicate, your throat chakra, dead giveaway. Heart chakra, love, obviously, it controls the heart. That's the area that controls the heart. So here we go. That controls the heart. This is the area, obviously. Then you're going to have these that control others. The wisdom is your solar plexus. Your sexual is your sacral chakra. That's your sacral, And trust is your root chakra. Your coccyx, basically. So your lumbar, your wisdom. Let's see. So let's see what else we can find. See, this would be your spirituality, your crown chakra, because that's who you are. That defines you as an individual. Everybody's forebrain here, or their limbic system, is the same. Okay? That's, with every human, everybody's brain right there is the same. This right here is what defines us as us. That's what gives us our spirituality, our individual soul. And notice how all my stuff is about the universe and fractals. Fractals are basically what looks like nervous systems, which basically looks like veins in earth and stuff like that. I mean, veins and filaments, it's all the same. It all connects the same because it all has to do with biological life, which is energy and matter together. And the universe is a living organism, whether anyone wants to accept it or not. By definition, the universe is alive. Literally, by scientific definition, the universe is actually alive. So is our planet. So I'm trying to find in the nerves where a connection would be, but it's not going to be in the nerves. I'm going to have to look in the spinal cord specifically. And when it comes to having a suit that would operate with, according to your mind and what you think, it would have to probably connect to the spinal cord rather than the nerves. It would have to hardwire straight to the spinal cord. Definitely the brain. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a physical connection. It can be a digital connection. Nonetheless, technology would bring this metaphysics to the world, and it wouldn't seem like Marvel is so crazy after all. Besides, all this stuff coincides with Marvel stuff because this is the stuff that he knows. That this is ancient stuff that has literally been put in movies and throughout history. Think about it. The X factor. There is really an X factor. It's electricity. Okay, that's the electric factor. There's a Y factor and electric factor. The X factor. Golly. Okay. Hello, X-Men. X factor. It's a lot more real than people think. Not to mention with all the metaphysics and then the history and stuff, gods and Thor. I mean, all that. Literally, and the 6 Infinity Stones. That's Jainism right there. That's part of physics. I mean, it's no joke. It's science. Look at how much science is in these movies, like especially Marvel movies. Look how much science. When they talk about quantum physics and they say something that sounds so wild, it sounds like some crazy theory. If you know enough about science, you'll know exactly what they're talking about. They're not throwing random words. Sometimes they're talking about random words, and it's very rarely that they do that. They actually usually talk about real science in a movie, and it makes it sound like, oh, that's crazy, because obviously it's something people really don't think about. So I'll start digging into it and start reading, and this is basically what I've done for several years. I mean, exactly what this, most generally, when I'm not at work, this is what I do. And even when I'm off work, this is all I do. And I'll read more and learn more about the nervous system, and cram all this and start finding connections to this nuclear and electric energy here and the metaphysics. But this is biokinetics. This is real science that nobody's looking into. But I know we know it, or I wouldn't be able to know this stuff myself. See, if we didn't have the science for me to look at, then I wouldn't know this stuff. But I am running into a lot of things that I don't know that this stuff will put into perspective. Then I'll look it up, and lo and behold, it's real. So it really puts things into perspective. It's our perspective that's so far off. It's not our science. It's not our numbers. It's our perspective. And that's what's given us so many problems and paradoxes. Not to mention, hiding that truth is creating a lot of hell on earth by keeping fighting and arguing going on. And we're falling into it. See, basically what I'm doing is bringing to life how I investigate through this stuff. My stumblings. How I stumble onto something, and then everything starts just getting more clear and more clear and more clear as I go. And it's not only the fact that I'm reading it and putting it together, it's the fact that everything that is separate, that we think is separate, is all connected to one big thing. See what I'm saying? There's a bigger picture. Alright, so here's the brainstem. Now, somewhere in here we're going to find, well, obviously we know where awareness comes from. There's a chakra, okay? So there's going to be something in here that could be defined as probably the chakra. Here's a nucleus. Our nucleus, it's midbrain. Let's see. Trigeminal nerve. That's probably it. The trigeminal nerve. And if we look up and find out what that is exactly, I guarantee, like I'm going to theorize again, that has something to do with powering a lot of this, where it transitions. So I guarantee this is a transitional state and a core of power, basically. And that's for your face. Let's see, I'd say, if anything, it's what I thought it was the whole time. I mean, I figured it probably been the hypothalamus because that controls your heat. That controls your homeostasis. That's what I eventually started with. I mean, that's where all your nuclear energy's at. I'd say that's probably it. I mean, that's what everything keeps stumbling. Like when I call it a stumble, people have that stumble upon. Well, I stumble onto something and then I start linking things together and it all has a big picture. Alright, so here's your hypothalamus, which controls your temperature, your body temperature. And then there's your thalamus, all right, which controls your motor functions. So this literally controls, it relays the motor instructions to your forebrain, basically. Hold on. All right, so it's a regulation of consciousness, sleep, and alertness. The relaying of sensory signals, including motor signals, to the cerebral cortex. What, Jada? See, right here. It is the midline symmetrical structure of two halves within the vertebrate brain, situated between the cerebral cortex and the midbrain. So this is your thalamus, this is the nuclear energy, this would be your awareness. Actually, that would come to think of it, that would be it. Because it's regulation of consciousness, sleep, that would be your awareness. That's your awareness chakra. So that would be your third eye. Like I was thinking about that's what I said, your limbic system, that your primordial brain, that's your third eye, that's your awareness, that coincides with your thalamus. Okay, here's your crown chakra, your cerebrum, a large part of the brain containing the cerebral cortex of the two cerebral hemispheres, as well as several subcortical structures, including the hippocampus, the basal ganglia, and the olfactory bulb. In the midbrain, or in the human brain, the cerebrum is the uppermost region of the central nervous system. So that coincides here pretty well too. I mean, you can't really debunk that at all. That's the whole point of me using facts to put this stuff together, because there's a picture that people aren't seeing, and it has to do with ancient science. Alright, so I'm thinking the communicate throat chakra is your suboccipital nerve, and that's basically your occipital lobe is what sees, and it's in the back of your head, and it's basically primarily for your vision and anything that has to do with your sight, but there's other actions that it has though. Obviously, this, I'm wanting to say somewhere along the lines here that this would be the throat chakra and communicates. That's the communicate chakra. And I'm going to see if this controls anything about the voice. See what that does. Okay, so it's the cervical nerve. This is the one that carries nerve signals throughout your body. This is why most generally if you get a broken neck, you can be quadriplegic. Or basically this is what helps you control your breathing also. So when you break your neck, you can suffocate. And I only know that because I broke my neck and they said I was very lucky. So pretty much that one chakra has 4 cores basically. This would be like the C1, C2, C3, and C4 more or less, because every one of these control each portion. Because it's actually a suboccipital triangle, to be quite honest. It's in the human body. It's a suboccipital triangle. That's what they call it. It's kind of ironic they call it a triangle, and we're sitting here talking about like chakras and all my stuff is based off the alpha and omega and pyramids and all of that. So it's kind of ironic, you know. But it all fits together perfect, you know. I mean, that's the irony. I've blown my own mind like 10,000 times, man, doing this stuff. I've blown several people's minds. I explain something, blow their mind. And a lot of people with cognitive dissonance, man, it offends them. And I don't even say anything wrong. I just kind of explain some stuff and they get offended instead of like, wow, dude, thanks. I mean, not trying to sound like, I'm trying to jerk myself off, you know, or anything, but shit. I mean, it's just like, you try to help people understand something when they want to ask a question, then when you tell them, they get offended or mad or like, act like douches for real. I mean, just throwing this out there. T1 to T12, there's like 12 vertebrae in the thoracic region. That's 6 times 2. And I'm just throwing this out there. Okay, there's 7C, 12T, 5L. If you take 1 from this, you make 6. Put it right there. You make 6 here. 6, 6, and another 6. I mean, just throwing that out there. It only takes changing one number. Just throwing it out there. And then, of course, you have the bottom ones. And there's 6 of them right there, too. S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, and coccyx. Or coccygeal, or whatever. But that's just a little ironic. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. You know, just throwing it out there. If you've watched any of my videos, you'll see the significance of the 6. Alright, so I just ironically put this together. There's 12 vertebrae, right? Well, then you have this, ironically, like in all my stuff, like the Higgs Field and, you know, Metatron's cube, the Siegel of the Beast. Basically this, you know. Of course, this right here is a cube, but it's the same concept. Triangle and another triangle. Star of David. And the aurora of it. There are 12 all the way around it. There's 12 vertebrae. There's 12 dimensions. You take 2 cubes, put them together, 1 straight, 1 off center. It's going to look like this. That's 12 dimensions because you have 6 sides of a cube. You have 2 cubes, therefore you have 12 dimensions. That's the spatial dimensions of space that we can actually understand. Well, logically we can understand if we'd ever start looking. Alright, so is anybody convinced yet that there's just some ironic stuff that keeps coinciding? I'm going to get to these other ones and start looking them up too. But right now, it just seems a little ironic that this stuff starts... See how well it falls together? It's stuff that we're not noticing. There's literally... It's a metaphysical world, for real. And ancient science really was real. Ironically, that kind of looks like an A for alpha. You know, just throwing that out there. Just kind of looks like an A. See? Like lowercase a. Alright, so for that one, the communicate, remember how I was talking about the suboccipital triangle? How ironic. That one's a triangle. And it's got 16 aurora. 16 little flower petals. So there's got to be something there. There's probably 16 parts to this this area of this chakra. It has to do with the brain, no doubt. Just like how this coincides with the freaking vertebrae. So again, does anybody see what I'm talking about here? It all fits together and we're not noticing the pattern. But I've seen it for a long time. And people think I'm crazy. But a lot of people are kind of seeing stuff. But I'm saying, like, on a grand scale, this is metaphysics and the ancient past. I'm just trying to throw that out there. I'm making this video to help people understand how I've been doing these investigations and the things that keep falling into place. And this is an example. And of everything I've figured out, this is how it happened. And it kept coinciding too well for it to not have any truth. And it literally had scientific significance because of factors completely lining up. So, I mean, it really is, it's extraordinary. Alright, the third eye chakra is similar to the communicate chakra with an upside down triangle, and it has a 3 in there, but it only has 2 petals here. So I'm going to find out what those 2 petals are. Probably the thalamus and hypothalamus, to be quite honest. Well, your limbic system is your paleomammalian cortex, so technically it actually has, there's a bunch of parts, but there's 2 main structures of it. It has the inner core and the outer shell, basically. So I think that might be one of the reason for the 2 petals. Or it could be literally the paleomammalian brain and the cerebral cortex together. That's the 2. But I figured it was the thalamus and hypothalamus, but it's not. This actually, it seems like this would be it. I mean, like I said, it's just a theory, but everything just keeps falling into place. But I want to make sure I don't theorize wrong on one particular thing and then it kind of collapse everything else. So I want to make sure I'm correct. So I'll look up the crown chakra and see what it looks like. Alright, so the crown chakra is all of them. It's got all kinds of petals. That's what I figured that would mean. And there's a significant amount of petals too, and I guarantee that individual amount, I'm going to guess right off the top of my head, 108. In this, I'm going to guess 108, and I'm going to sit here and count them. But if it's divisible by 6, it's a dead giveaway. No, it's 96. Basically 6'9", 9'6". Okay, so still, that doesn't deter my irony at all. That just coincides with it even further, because I'm just going to throw this out there. 96 AD, that's when Revelations was written. Just throwing that out there, because ironic stuff, you know, just little ironic stuff that people never thought of. And it would take an insane lunatic like me to put together. And not to mention, it's 6 times 16. So it's 16 petals all the way around in 6 rows. So the solar plexus has 10 petals on it, and it's an upside down triangle. Let's see what we can find. Well, immediately right off, I just see this. There's 5, and they all split off, see, into 2. So that would be 10. But I don't think that's it. I just noticed that right off. See if there's something that fits a little bit better. That would be kind of like a dead giveaway. All right. Other than that, I can't find a 10. All I can figure, I mean, I could just say, you know, oh, it's just ironic that they all fit and keep it at that, but it's deeper than that. That's superficial. I think it's there's something we're not seeing that we don't have yet. There's 2 things we're missing about the solar plexus. Okay, there's 8 areas that it connects to basically here. Okay, it splits into these. Remember how I was saying it's 2? It'll split off. Each one splits off to 2, and that's why they have a 10 here. That's why they got 10 petals. Every one of these split off to 2 because they have basically it's 2 functions. Everything's got a mirror function here, and I think what's happened is still we're not seeing something. We're missing something small, or there's a detail somewhere that we're not seeing, and there's 2 more that we're missing. There's something here that we're not seeing, because there's 8 right off, but I think there's 2 more things that we're missing, and that would be the 10 here. Now, typically, I could say, like I said, well, there's, you know, it splits off to 2, you know, and there's 5 vertebrae, so that would be 10, you know, but I just, that completely coincides here perfect, but I just, with the science I've been finding, it always goes deeper than something superficial like that. It always coincides on a specific level with something organic or energetic, and that's because really, like, it's really hard to wow me, you know. I have to have that solid evidence. I have to have that solid proof, you know. And all of this stuff sounds wild, I know, but I would not even consider this stuff if there wasn't a live, real life connection and solid proof that corroborates it. And there's a lot of it. Now the sacral chakra, I just started this on 1818. That's 6 divided by 3, or 6 times 3, and 6 times 3, it's insane. But I got to this one right on that time anyway. It's 6. It's got 6 petals. Now, ironically, it looks like an ovum. And this is, you know, the sexual chakra. So this could be alpha and omega here, the male and female. Because it's got the A in there, obviously. The L, the alpha, inside the female egg. I'm wanting to say that's what's going on here. I mean, that's what I noticed right off the rip. But we'll find out if there's any real connections here. Other than the fact that, I mean, that's procreation. And it's the sacral chakra, or the sexual chakra. Because, like I said about the 6s, the 6s are... There's a lot of 6s, trust me. Alright, it's part of the lumbosacral plexus. It controls the thigh, the lower leg, and the foot on each side of your body. So that would probably be the 6 right there. Let me just look. Well, that's what it looks like it signifies. Of course, there's a lot of nerves that it stimulates to operate these. Here's all the nerves that it uses, really. Let's see. Yeah, so it's your sexual organs and waste, basically. There. So here's a female egg cell. This is half of the haploid cell, okay? I think that's exactly what they're talking about here. It's procreation. I mean, it looks pretty obvious to me. But, I mean, you don't have to believe anything I'm saying. Just listen to what I'm saying. Alright, the trust chakra, the root chakra, it's got a square and a triangle and 4 petals. Let's see what we can find here. Everything seems to indicate that there's 4 nerves coming out, and that's why it's got 4 petals. Here it is again. That's what I think is going on here too on this one. It's ironic, this is our root chakra, the coccyx, and it's like the last thing in our body. Because ironically, it used to be a tail that all great ape have, basically, that fell off because we started standing upright. We were bilateral. We didn't need the balance of a tail anymore, so when we started to stand up bilaterally, we lost it. Anyway, there's only basically 4 nerves that come from it. So I guess that would be these 4 petals. So it seems to coincide here that each petal represents a nervous system of some sort. That's what I figured anyway, originally, when I started these videos, when I stumbled onto this, it just shot into my head. I mean, literally, it literally just shot into my head. I don't know where this stuff comes from. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where it comes from, but something is telling me all kinds of stuff to look at, and lo and behold, the stuff ends up being true. I'm just sitting here, and I started making the video as soon as it did, and I just wanted people to know that this is what's been happening to me. For the past 3 years solid, there's just been this stuff coming to me, and I've just been putting it all together. But my whole life I've been looking up and studying things, and all of a sudden 3 years ago, something just came to me, and all of a sudden I haven't stopped. I have not stopped. Alright, so I added these up, and lo and behold, it came up with the natural number, 146. How insane is that? I mean, is it all in my head? I mean, I didn't make any of this up. It all just keeps falling right into place. A natural number that is octahedral. And lo and behold, bam, that is octahedral. And this is the Higgs Field. This is the area of space, the dimensions, the spatial dimensions in space. The siegel of the beast, or the Star of Astaroth, or Metatron's cube, all of that stuff. The Star of David, that's where the origins of it come from. All of this stuff has significant meaning that we're not seeing. And this natural number is literally a rep digit. It's repetitive. It happens again in base 8, 222. Now, get this. 2.2 billion times 6 is basically the age of the universe. Because there's a lot of 2.2s also. There's 22, 2.2. The density of carbon is 2.2. Okay, so, 2.25 times 6. And you'll get 13.5. Now, 2.2, the mass of carbon, ash, ashes to ashes, dust to dust, where everything came from when it comes to the beginning. If you've watched any of my other videos, they explain a lot of this stuff. And this fits in dynamically, perfectly with literally, with what I was saying about the singularity being like a diamond, carbon ash diamond. It's nucleonic matter. Because believe it or not, all of this stuff coincides with quantum physics and quantum mechanics and metaphysics. Get this. I'm just going to throw this out there. Electron, Metatron, metaphysics, Metatron. See what I'm saying? The words have more meaning than we think. I mean, this is like Metatron's cube. So, electron, Metatron, metaphysics, it just seems to kind of coincide too well for it to be just make-believe. Ironically, as I'm making this and explaining metaphysics, if someone actually took this serious, that had the funding and had a personal garage, they would be able to do, ironically, this just happened to come on because I got a random playlist, and it's Spider-Man Homecoming. And this is about guys that have alien technology, and he's got a personal garage. They're, Ravagers, that they literally collect a bunch of stuff and salvage it and make their own devices. People that have the funding would literally be able to understand this technology and create their own metaphysical devices in labs and stuff. And that's one reason I believe this science is suppressed. Because if people had this kind of knowledge, I mean, we'd probably obviously destroy ourselves. But the thing is, we have the potential not to do that. We have the potential to actually live in a happy world. And with everybody having the same amount of power, I doubt anyone would literally do anything stupid. Because we all have the same amount of power now. Well, when it comes to the nations, that is. So I'm just throwing that out there. All of this stuff seems to coincide too well with everything I've been trying to get people to understand and try to get them on the same path that I'm on.